Hello, everybody. What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
What's
What's
up? What's up?
up?
What's up?
What's up?
Hey. Nice for you to be here, man. We've got a really special guest. This show is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like we had MC Globe on, last week on the Planet Rock
That's my boy,
anniversary.
man.
Yeah. Really nice.
Shout out Glow.
Man Parish, all these electro
Wow,
artists and
nice.
rappers, and now we have Cozmo D, who is a founding member of Nucleus, DJ, producer, been Cenac. And man, tell me, how are you doing, man, before we get into it?
I can't complain, man. Crazy times, crazy world. I remain blessed through it. Know
Right
what I'm
on.
saying? You can't ignore those blessings. Still here, still relatively healthy. I didn't lose. I mean, I lost a few friends and all that, but
Mm,
my immediate family, we're all still here. We're all still blessed. So thank
yes, you
God for
are.
that.
Yes, you are. And yeah, and your reputation goes on and on. Your music still lives,
Thank you, sir.
all over the place. I've always been a big fan. I became hooked on electro and hip hop through when I've heard all the older songs, like even the Fatback Band, would play like one of the first rap joints that probably ever came out back in the late '70s. But what really did it for me was the electro sound, the Planet Rock. It
Mm.
turned me into Kraftwerk, and later on, Man Parish, and then of course Nucleus came out, and you guys and it's just ever since then I got into DJing and producing music. So I'm thanking you as a huge influence just on my end as far as doing music.
Mm.
So it really, really big honor to have you here, obviously.
Pleasure,
So
pleasure and honor is mine, man. Thank you for having me.
yes, sir. So we'll just go back to the beginning, man. How did it all start? Like, where were you born? Like, let our audience know, where were you born? What was your environment like when you were growing up, as far as music, like the kind of music that really influenced you, and how did you get into the business? Tell us the story, my man.
Well, I'm from Brooklyn. Born and raised. I was born in 1959. So my first experiences with music was in the 60s. My mother had listened to a lot of different stuff. She had very, very eclectic and open tastes. So from an early age, I was absorbed with Broadway, with jazz, with classical. With soul.
Wow.
My mother listened to all that, so all of that played a huge part in me loving music from an early age.
Hmm.
Um, I gravitated towards rock at first. My favorite band was first Three Dog Night, and then got into Santana. And
Mm.
I really love Santana. And then Santana went into jazz, and when Santana went into
Hmm.
jazz, I went right with him into jazz fusion. And jazz fusion is still the music I love the most. But also, I was steady on, on the funky side of things. And in the 70s, right about the same time, I started developing as an adult.
Hmm.
I was a young adult, but let me say, the first time I started smoking cigarettes and smoking herb,
Hmm.
I was into
Right.
I was into stuff. I was into stuff like the funkier side of stuff that was playing on the radio.
Oh
And
yeah.
in 1973, I'm in high school. I'm in my second year in high school. Let me
Hmm.
see. I was 14. So no, that was my first year of high school. And I'm back. I'm in the back. And no. I'm telling on myself now. No, not
Uh-oh.
1973, 1975. I'm sorry. I've told this story so many times I get the dates confused. All right, so I was in my second year. I was just sitting there thinking, said, man, you just started getting high in your first year.
Right.
I was in the second year. I'm chilling in the projects across the street. I went to a school called Dewey, John Dewey High School. That's in Brooklyn, near Coney Island, in a part of the town called Bensonhurst. And it's right across from the train yards where everybody went to hit the trains for graffiti. You're in the back of the school. You see the trains all over the place.
That's
And we used to chill, across the street. The projects, Marlboro projects, are right across the street. We used to go over there and play hooky. You're in school. You done signed in for official class, but then after that,
jet.
Getting high and drinking all day. And I'm in Marlboro projects. I'm chilling with the super seniors.
Right.
I don't know. Y'all know what a super senior is.
What was that?
Super seniors are the guys that have been seniors for 2 or 3 years.
Oh, okay, got you.
I don't know.
Graduate years ago. They still in high school, Some of them got beards and all that. The cat, one cat named Perry, I think he made it to 21, still in high school.
Damn.
But anyway, I'm over there. We getting high. We drinking Brass Monkey. We chilling. And somebody had a box, and they put in a tape. And this tape was by this DJ that was from Coney Island, right? Called Count JC. And on he's playing the popular stuff. And one of the records that had been a hit in New York on the radio was by a group named Cenac called Bra. And he played that. Now Bra had been out for a while, but he played it differently. I had never heard anything like this before. It played for a little while, then it went to the bass break. You hear it on the radio. He plays the bass break, and it's a long bass break on Bra.
Long songs, yeah.
Long bass break, but it plays the break, then it goes back into the song, and it's over. Homeboy started cutting back and forth on the bass break. I was like, what the fuck? I ain't never heard no shit like that before.
Yeah.
He extended the bass break, and it blew my mind. And from right then and there, spring of 75, I said, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a DJ. I'm going to learn how to do that. And that set my life up right then and there. That was the seeds. That was the root. So from that point on, I had friends that had a little DJ system, and I would play on their thing and all that. But in 76, we got our own system. We being myself and my two cousins, Monique and Pete. They're brother and sister, and we grew up. I'm an only child. So the three of us grew up like brothers and sisters,
Okay.
Their mother had passed, unfortunately, so they were living with my grandparents, and I was always, there was like a second home to me. So I was always over at my grandparents as well. So in 76, we got for Christmas, we got a turntable system, and then the following year we went and got professional. Maybe not professional, SL23s. Right now they would be
okay. Yeah. No doubt.
Back then, they were semi-professional, but people weren't DJing yet.
They weren't thinking about that.
No. And we started DJing, and then we started getting speakers, and we started playing outside, and putting speakers in the windows, and we got enough speakers to start doing parks and stuff like that. And Neek left to go to college. So my best friend was a guy named David St. Louis, and we brought him in. Me and Pete brought David, and the three of us came together. And Dave, he at the time was DJing with another friend of ours, but the other friend of us named T, He's now known as Al T, but T or Tugger, which is what his nickname was. He was younger. He's 5 years younger than me.
Okay.
Now that don't mean nothing when you're a grown man, but when you're 17 years old, you don't want this 12-year-old hanging out with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Drinking and getting high. So we separated Dave from T, you know, and Dave and T had their little thing that they were doing. They didn't even have equipment. They had rigged up a stereo system with the balance button and two turntables, and with the balance button they were swinging to the left and the right and doing mixing like that.
Okay.
Rude, but back then, man, people were glad to get, you know, some, because most parties back then, you put the record on, the record finish, everybody stopped dancing, you put another record on, record finish, everybody stopped dancing. So if you can find somebody who actually has some kind of system where the music, you know, went continuous all night, you know, it was something. So they had this thing called Jam Brothers Incorporated. So since, you know, me and Pete already had our thing and we bringing him in, we wanted to make sure he felt like an equal. So I said, well, let's call ourselves Jam On Productions. You know, using part of the name that he was using. And that's when we started in 1977. And you know, that was the beginning of it all. But by that point, you know, Brooklyn, you know, there's the age-old thing about, you know, what's going on in the Bronx and what's going on in Brooklyn. Right now in 77, we weren't even checking for what was going on in the Bronx yet. You know,
right?
But hip hop had a flavor. You know, the stuff for the street, the stuff for the DJs, street DJs, rocking the parks, rocking 2 records, you know, extending beats, all of that shit was happening in Brooklyn. Now, the flavor in the Bronx and up in the Boogie Down was more with breaks and drum beats. In Brooklyn, it's about the bass line.
Okay.
So you will find most of the breaks, and there's a lot of breaks that we played in Brooklyn. They usually based on the bass line, built around the bass line. Like Bra, for instance. Bra is built on that bass break, you know. The bass line. You know, one record that they liked it to ride as a disco record. Because it's the Brooklyn National Anthems and y'all playing that disco. They played it in the Bronx too, mind you, and in Fill a Floor Anywhere. Love is a Message by MSP.
Right.
Bassline.
The bassline is distinctive, yeah.
Yes, and that's what we were all about. And if you notice anything about Newcleus record,
always funky bassline.
Dope bassline. That's
dude. That Wiki Wiki Wiki. The Jam On Revenge, it used to be Jam On's Revenge, and then it became Jam On Revenge, Wiki Wiki song. And man, when I heard that thing, man, I was like, good God. It's like, dude, it was like you had like the 808 funky ass drum program. And who programmed that beat though? That beat was funky though. You did it? Yeah, oh man, hats off to you, bro. That was a dope ass fucking pattern. And the bass line was so funky. Woo! Oh man,
are you familiar with our first album?
Yeah.
Okay, do you know the song "No More Running"? "No More Running" was the song that I created first. One of the earliest. We would call ourselves Positive Messenger back then.
Positive Messenger, right?
And "No More Running" was dum 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 dum. You know, that was the bass line.
Yeah.
This Jam On DJ named Salvador Smooth said, "Why don't you do a rap record? You should do a rap record." Now, mind you, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from a Brooklyn street crew. That means I got a battle mentality.
Right.
Our whole existence in the 70s and early 80s was about to battle.
Right.
You came outside, you hear rumbling in the air, the same shit that cars sound like now. But back then, there wasn't no cars sound like that. You heard the rumbling, you knew somebody was out in the parks or in the playground or something, got their system up and they smashing and they rocking the crowd. And you're thinking, okay, let's find out where they are and we can get set up. And
blow them out.
We get set up and blow them out. That was our existence. So when the first rap records came out, most of the first rap records were like, that shit ain't a battle. That's a routine. You know, everybody had routines and they had dance steps and all. That wasn't reflective of what we knew from the parks in Brooklyn. I can't
battle rap,
the parks in the Bronx or Uptown. You know, because that's where all these crews were, and they had routines, and they went home and practiced it. We didn't practice. When what most would call practice when we were in the house instead of out in the parks partying. What most would call practice when we were down in the studio and the DJs were practicing, the MCs were on the mics battling,
just spitting.
That's it. Going head to head. You know, they best of friends and they trying to blow each other out. That was the existence that we knew. So those records that were out then, I hate to say this, but they sounded soft. You know, because it wasn't reflective of the Brooklyn battle. And you want to know something that you can see in Brooklyn hip hop to this day? You still don't hear routines. Everybody has a verse, spits a verse. Everybody tries to blow out the last verse with their verse.
Well, break that down real quick. Explain that more if you don't mind, please. Like the routine. What do you mean it was more routine?
They would practice together. Say there's 3 or 4 DJs, 4 MCs, right? They would back each other up. They would know when his rhyme was going to do this, and they'd go in and that's that. And then
memorize
it. Go back and forth on a verse. You know, it's not it's not this guy's verse and that guy's verse. It's everybody's verse, and everybody's taking turns and participating. To do that, you have to practice. You got to collaborate. You got to write together. All of these are good skills, but it's not what we did in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, it was about everybody went for their turn. If you doing a house party, you doing a block party, you in the park, there's a line for the mic. And motherfucker get on there and he rap, and then the next one get on and he rap. Nobody's lining up and doing routines and going back and forth and all that. No, that's not what it was for us.
So when did that start? Like when did y'all?
That was already going on in the Bronx. It probably was doing that. They were probably doing what they were doing before we were. But they were on a whole different thing. They were on an entertainment thing. We weren't about entertaining. We were about rocking the fucking crowd, getting the crowd revved up. Yeah, rocking the crowd. It wasn't about entertaining. That's why we didn't have moves and all that. That's why we didn't learn to scratch. Because at that time, people would stop dancing and watch the DJ. So he do tricks.
But you can't do this. Wiki, 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 wiki.
That's what it was all about. That shit was stupid to us.
45 degrees.
Yeah, that shit was stupid to us. No, you want to keep the people dancing. You want to make the people dance. You know, we more than once we set up against a crew and they doing all the scratching and all that, and we dropped the bomb record, and all they people run from them over to us. That's what it's all about.
That's what was up, right?
That's what it's all about, you know.
So
that's what it was all about.
When did that transition occur? Or like, because what I'm trying to formulate in my head,
you're not getting
like the Bronx was doing like what you would call root. Because I know like hip hop originally, right, started in '73. So when did like the
that's
when
what
did
they say.
freestyling start? When did like the routine start? Like how did this all like?
I don't know. You gotta ask a Bronx cat when they started doing routines.
All right. So all I know, start like freestyle. Like when did you start engaging?
We started freestyling in Brooklyn. It was I would say about 76. About 76. What was
that build up? Like what was the build up like? Like how could you see that hip hop was beginning to be created? Like
I can tell you exactly when. When in 77, because we were still playing a lot of disco and people were still hustling by 75, 76.
Mm-hmm.
In 77, the Freak hit Brooklyn,
Mm-hmm.
which meant that people, the music slowed down a bit, and it was all about getting together in the crowd and keeping the crowd working. It wasn't about disco anymore. It wasn't about DJing anymore. People, hustling anymore with all the spinning and all that. And you had to have skills, because when hustling, that counts out a large percentage of the crowd, because not everybody can hustle. Everybody can free.
Do the hustle.
Yeah, everybody can free. So when that happened, the crowds got larger.
Mm-hmm.
And that killed off any remnants of the hustle, because the DJ just wants the biggest crowd as possible.
Yep.
And if he's playing music for hustlers and there's maybe 10 couples doing the hustle and 100 couples freaking, he's gonna play stuff for people to freak to. So that changed that up, and with that, the slower, funkier music generated more towards the freestyling, and that's when the MC became more popular. What's more, you're playing more breaks. Even though disco had breaks, but you're playing more breaks, more funky shit to get down to. So it gave more room for the MC. So that's when the MC started coming to the front. In earlier than 77, the MC got very little shine.
Very little. It was all about the DJ.
It was all about the DJ. But by 77, when the DJ is busier, he doesn't have time to work the crowd himself, because he's busy working the music, working the crowd. The MC comes more and more to the forefront. So that's how it developed in Brooklyn. Now, I can't speak how it developed on the Bronx.
And if you listen to all those early rap records, they're kind of like what you might call community raps, like, throw your hands in the air, yes, yes, y'all, the same sort of phrasing and community. Yeah, they were all saying that stuff. So it was like part of that routine,
Right. Well, that's the first thing you learn. First of all, you got a lot of non-MCs who just knew how to do that, and they just had a dope voice. We had this cat, I love him to death, Cleveland. He went by Mr. C. He was in our crew. He had a dope voice, and he could rap all night long, but he didn't rhyme.
Oh, no.
But that just meant he went off of the dome, and MCs hated him. Because he would just go all night long, but he would work the crowd. The crowd loved it, but he's not rhiming.
He's not rhyming any of his words.
He's hitting the cadence, so the cadence is funky. He's spitting dope shit, about what's going on and all that. But he's not rhyming, so the MCs hated on him. Say, yo, man, you're not even rhyming. Don't fuck that. He's rocking the crowd. That's all the DJ cared about.
That's all he cared about,
that's all we cared about. Man, he used to go off. I lost contact. I just got in contact with him just last year.
Okay.
He called me out of the blue. He said, this is Cleveland. I said, I've only known one Cleveland in life. He said, that's him. I said, oh, shit. But,
wow.
He had disappeared right before we started getting the music happening. So I would have definitely put him out. I think he could have changed everything.
Really?
As far as hip-hop, because he would have opened up a whole lane for motherfuckers who had dope voices and dope cadence and could talk shit but couldn't rhyme.
But just couldn't rhyme.
And that could have been a whole nother style.
That it could have been. It could have been. And he could have worked at it and maybe made some sort of, compromise. Who knows what he could have came up with.
But it didn't happen, such is life. Come on, Brandon, keep it coming, man.
We'll keep it coming. So, the other thing too,
then the next thing that I really want to know is when did freestyling become a thing? Like,
it was always freestyling. It was freestyling before it was written rhymes.
But when did that who started, who came up with that idea? Like one day, you know what? This is what freestyle is.
Who knows, man? Cats in the Bronx seem to know. I think the last thing I heard is Melly Mel invented the cadence and all. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. I know it wasn't me. But I'll tell you this. Back in the day, you couldn't call yourself an MC unless you could freestyle off the dome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is why I've never called myself an MC. I'm a DJ.
Okay.
You know, I'm a rapper. I can rap with the best. Matter of fact, you give me time. See, first of all, I'm a DJ, so I don't give a fuck. I'll bite your style and change it up.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
I'm serious, because I'm not an MC. So what do I care? What do I care? I will sit down, clock your flow, see how you flowing on this kind of beat, get on the same kind of beat, take your flow, adjust it to me, and
turn it into something else.
And you give me, you may be able to go off the dome. You give me a few hours and pen and paper, I'll still come out with some dope shit.
Some dope shit.
But I'm a DJ. So, and because I'm a DJ, I'm a producer. You know, and that's what I do. But I'll never call myself an MC.
You know, there are other songs on the first album that I love, like Auto Man and I'm Not a Robot. I kind of feel like some of those content was kind of harkening back to your original group that you were talking about with more positive sort of messages. Yeah.
Those are all positive messenger songs. What had happened, what we went into, first of all, I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a religious person. I'm a deeply spiritual person.
Gotcha.
But at the time, I was much more religious.
Mm.
You know, never wanted to follow church, but follow the Bible and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened was we realized, you know, our whole thing between myself, Lady Yvette, my wife,
mm-hmm.
Monique, who came back from college and rejoined Jam On, and she and I, you know, and Yvette were together, and her husband, who DJ'd on the block as well, but he and I have been in a band together, in a funk rock band, and he played bass. And that's Bob Chili B. So the
Rest
four
in
of
peace.
us,
yes,
the four of us lived together in my mother's house on one floor. So we were working and doing music together, and we decided that, you know, our music would all have a message. We'd all be positive and have a message either about goodness of God, the strength of God, the good or good things of the earth, changing the world, all of that. In other words, we weren't going to do no music that was about nothing. We were going to do all stuff, and that's why we call ourselves Positive Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, Salvador Smooth, this is how we got on this tangent. Salvador Smooth challenged me to do a rap record. And like I said, I thought the rap records at the time were whack. I had no intention because I'm not an MC. So and neither was Bob, neither was Chili B. He's a DJ as well. So we had no intention of rapping, no intention of... I said, okay, I took this record that I put together at the time. It was with the 303 doing the bass line, TB 303. TB 303 doing the bass line, called No More Running. And it went dum 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 dum. I took the first half of every part of the song, and so it went dum 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 dum. Threw that together. So it was already
nice funky groove.
The 303 and the 808. So I just threw that together, cut it in half, and did the whole shit with the Munchkins and all that, and do that on it, and that became Jam On's Revenge.
How did you get the Munchkin sound in there? I know there was like a little reverb pedal you could buy back then that kind of gave you something like that, but
by this time we had a Porter studio, the Tascam Porter studio, which was a 4-track tape cassette recorder. and it had a variable speed control on it.
Oh, gotcha.
So I just slowed down the speed of the tape, did the vocals, all that. Then when you put it back on the correct
Regular
speed,
speed.
they had munchkins.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
that's all we did. That's what we did in the records too. You know, the same thing, which is why our munchkins sound so much better than everybody else's munchkins.
Yep.
Now you can't do it anymore because you're not dealing with tape anymore.
You
know, so now I have to do it the same way everybody else does.
Yeah, the processors and stuff.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had the 808 way back in the day, man.
As soon as I saw it and could afford it. As soon as I saw
how much were they going for back then? It's like not as expensive as now.
No. I think I spent eight something.
8 something. Okay.
8 something for it. Now it's a lot of money back then. That was a lot of money.
Well, speaking of the Jam on Revenge, how did you guys come up with the concept to the album? Because I saw that I was reading about it, and I read that it was, you know, the idea was taking place on this off-planet world where like music isn't, you know,
had nothing to do with that. Like I was saying, all of those songs, Jam on It was new. Where's the Beat wasn't us.
Really?
No.
Okay.
There was imposters. He asked me because the commercial, the Where's the Beef commercial was out. He said, yo, we need to do a record on the commercial. I said, that shit is corny as hell, man. They ain't doing no shit like that. So he went and got somebody else to do it. He got me to come in and laugh at the end, and I stupidly did that. I shouldn't have done that. I should have said, no, fuck you. I ain't doing that either.
Fuck you in that song.
But no. All of those songs on that album were positive messenger songs. Which is why all of them, you don't hear it with Destination Earth,
right?
Which is probably the deepest song, because Jonathan Farron took the vocals off of it and made it instrumental. But Destination Earth was all about somebody getting in a time machine, want to go on a future date because he's trying to find love in the world because there's no love in the world.
Yeah.
So everything that we did had a message to it, except for that Jam On's Revenge.
Man, I tell you what, that album, when I was a kid, I used to listen to that thing every night before I went to bed. Like, I'd play that whole tape, man. I had it on a tape cassette and a 12-inch, the 12-inch singles like Jam on It and you know, Jam on Revenge, all of that, Automan, the whole 9 yards, because I was DJing back then. But yeah, I used to love that record. I just loved the way it flowed. Like, one side of it was more like Jam on It, you know, more like Jam on Revenge, more rap type stuff, and then the other side was more deeper and into the positive messages and stuff like that. So I thought that was ingenious, and I like how you guys broke it up with the little wind. And
we didn't do that.
Who did that?
I guess Jonathan Farron. We didn't do the intro. This is the story of Nucleus. We didn't have nothing to do with that. We didn't have nothing to do with where the songs were. They're all our songs. Well, most, I told you which were ours. But we didn't place them where they were going. We didn't add the sound effects and all that in the middle. I gotta give respect that, you know, somebody had a good vision for our stuff. But so I can't knock that, because I know that has a lot to do with the longevity of the album. But
how did you get the deal with Sunnyview?
All right. Long story.
Long stories. Before
I was working with Chili B, we did try and do a rap record. Me and Tugger, Alti, you know, Harmony, who once he got older, we brought him back into the crew. Either after we had done pushed him off, get out of here. But once he got older, he was back in the crew, and he and I, and Lady E, this is when I first started making music, and all I had was a synthesizer, a very crude synthesizer made of cardboard and plastic, called Electro Harmonics Mini Synthesizer, a Dr. Rhythm drum machine, and 2 tape decks. and I'd
Wow.
record the stuff on one deck, then I record some more stuff on the other deck, playing it back and so forth. So what you ended up with was one tape that sounded like crap, and no way to make another copy of it. That's the only tape that you had. But I knew what I was hearing. I knew it could be a hit record. You know, that's what life felt anyway. So I said, okay, let me go shop it. So I went and looked up all the rap records. There weren't that many rap records yet, and I went to each record company, and everybody said, you got to leave the tape. I said, I only got one tape. No, you got to leave the tape. Sorry. So they wouldn't listen to it. So I went to Reflection Records, who had put out that record Raptivity. You know, ladies and gentlemen, the Surgeon General of Soul Town, New York, that record was devastating to your ear. You remember that? Okay.
Yep.
They were on that label. And I went there, and it was in a One Stop. One Stop is a small record distributor. It was a little office in a One Stop, and this cat Joe Webb was in there. He agreed to listen to the tape. So he listened to the tape. Of course, it sounded like shit, and he couldn't hear what I was hearing. And he gave me constructive criticism, but he didn't sign it. I said, okay, thank you, because I appreciated somebody finally listened to it. After that, I went home and started working with Chili B a little bit later. We got the Porter studio, and we started making more professional sound and stuff. And finally, I had a tape. I had a song called Computer Age that I came up with, and I was saying, this is dope. And then at the same time, Planet Rock dropped. And I said, wait a minute, if that's a hit, this will be a hit. I said, I'm going to take this up to Tommy Boy. And I was going to go to Tommy Boy, but then I said to myself, let me give that guy that listened to my stuff the first time the first shot. So I contacted him. I found him. The Reflection was gone, but I found his, because a name like Joe Webb, you can't forget that name. And I found him in the phone book. He said, yeah, come on down. So I thought I was going to his office. Turned out it was his crib in the projects.
Oh, okay.
And I went in there, and on the tape, I had all the Positive Messenger stuff. But I had run out of room at the end of the tape. I mean, not run out of room. I had room left at the end of the tape. So I said, well, okay, I might as well fill this in. So I threw Jam On's Revenge at the end of the tape. So we sat there. He's listening to all the stuff. He's loving all the stuff. He said, yeah, this is good. This is good. This is good. This is good. He heard Jam On's Revenge is the last thing on it. Lost his mind.
I bet.
So this is it. This is it. This is it. Oh, my God. Oh, and I'm telling him, look, I just made this thing as a joke. I wasn't trying to put it out. I just threw it on. No, this is a hit. And then he said, I'll make you $500,000 in a year.
Whoa.
So, I'm 21 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff, okay, you're making music for the Lord and to progressing and positivity and somebody tells you they can make you $500,000 in a year. So,
wait a minute. Now that is positive. That's very positive. You know how many people I can help now?
And so I never made it up to Tommy Boy. I ended up rolling with him.
Yeah.
And
it's been history since then.
It's been history. I don't know how much of it was blessing and how much was curse, but it brought me here, and my life is blessed. So
is blessed from it.
It's the walk, man.
Yeah, everybody's got their own journey and their own lessons that they can teach, and others, like, based on that history. I mean, is there any sort of message that you could tell people that are trying to get a deal or trying to make it in the music? I know things are way different.
Everything is way
so different. Yeah.
If this shit had been like this when I was young, man, are you kidding me? It's so wide open. It really is so wide open. Anything is available to you right now. You know,
But you know the difference though when
technology. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the difference, the only difference or the major difference I see though is like today it's so homogenous. Like everybody sounds alike, everyone's got access to the same sounds, the same groove, the same vibe, and everybody's jumping on what's the hot flavor of the month type of mentality.
And
But
you know
back
what?
then it was all about you don't bite people's shit. You know, you go out and you create your own shit, you know, and you have all this hardware, machines to make your shit sounds even different than the next thing, like a Lin drum versus a 808 drum, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you had different sounds and flavors in the music back then, you know.
But you know what has to happen? This is math involved here. Cream is going to rise to the top.
Every time.
This has to happen. With everybody sounding like everybody fucking else, those that sound like okay.
Yep.
I mean, what is a for instance? Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. Boom. You know, first of all, they were distinct on their own. And then they said, well, let's get together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right to the top.
Right to the top. That's probably your biggest message right there.
That's it.
Be different. Be different.
Yourself. Be original. Be creative. And what I'm loving what's happening right now, which is telling me it's taking me years to get this album done, but I'm getting it done at the right time. I'm loving the cats, especially the cats from the 90s, but even KRS-One, man. Coming back and saying, fuck that, we doing boom bap. I don't get y'all can do the mumbles and the trip hop and all the
man, he's still number one.
Trap and all this and all that. I mean, even if it's not number one, you get millions of watches, you know, on YouTube, you making your money.
All
you
off the strength of
income, and you're doing what you love, and you're creating art that's going to live. Because this other shit that sounds like every other shit, it's going to die. Because it's not standing out, it's not distinctive. You know,
that's right.
So
Spotify,
I'm feeling that shit happening right now.
Yeah.
Man. I've always loved Meth, but right now he's doing extra. He's doing extra, you know.
Yeah. Nas, who do you listen to right now? If you had to like as far as like new artists or like newer, who's like 3 to 5 artists you listen to right now? Just out of curiosity.
That I listen to right now, I'll tell you the truth. I've never really listened to anybody, period, in my existence, hip hop existence. I've always listened to jazz. And so that the shit that strains through the muck and gets to me, I've admired and loved, you know, because it's been so distinct and beautiful. Right now, who I'm listening to, let me see, new. And I watch fucking TMZ live every day, and I see these motherfuckers. But any of them I check for, only way I know them is they're on features. Papoose is one.
Okay.
You know, he's got a flow that makes me say, yeah, this motherfucker, he's feeling the shit and he's coming with it. Let's see who else.
Yeah, Papoose can definitely spit.
Who else have I checked recently? The cat that I don't remember his name. That first time I heard him, but he's dope. That's on this Method Man release that came out a few weeks ago. Dark skinned brother. I don't remember his name.
No.
I don't remember his name. But yeah. But this is how I've always been. I've got a battle mentality. I don't check for you, you check for me. That's what I've always had. You know,
so then who influenced you then? Not that I didn't mean to cut you off. Then who are like your influencers?
Influencers? Let me see. George Clinton, Giorgio Moroder, Jean-Michel Jarre, Sly Stone, Herbie Hancock, George Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder.
Now, as far as hip hop is concerned, I have people that I love. I love Tribe. I always thought that Tribe was the most original and creative of all the hip hop groups. I loved Houdini, but I battled against them in the 70s.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you battle?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
In Wyckoff Projects. I've Ecstasy lived there, but I'm not sure if he was there that night. But Jalil was there. We were battling against a crew, a DJ named Mike Brown. Mike Brown taught me an important lesson that night that I never forgot. We set up our equipment in the middle of the floor, and he set up over in the corner. And we were supposed to take turns, but that shit ended up blasting against each other. He sat there and turned his speakers into the corners. I'm like, what the fuck is this fool doing? This is 77. I'm just learning. Blew us the fuck out.
Yeah. Boom.
Blew us the fuck out. And then that was the night I learned about acoustics.
Yes.
And I need to learn what acoustics are all about. Because obviously, the stupidest thing I did was set up my equipment in the middle of the fucking room. The speakers in the middle of the fucking room. He probably saw that and said, this is easy. Because we had more equipment than he did. But then he turned them shits into the corner and used the whole place as a speaker and blew us out.
Damn.
I won't say that the skills of the MCs had anything to do with it because that was just starting. And it was all noise any fucking way. All noise anyway. But that was one battle. That's the only battle we ever really lost.
That was in 77, you say?
77.
77. Wow.
And what was the buildup like for battles? Like, how would you just go and
there was no buildup for that battle. I think we got called in for like the same week. They just set it up, but there was no buildup. You come outside, literally. You come outside. You hear something happening. You figure out where it is. You figure out where you're gonna get electricity from. You line up and you blow them out, or they blow you out. One or the other. Sometimes in organized battles, there'd be 4 or 5 DJs in a park, and they would each set up in a corner. And then you would have to take turns. It's ridiculous. But one crew against another crew, block party. One people in this part of the block hate the people in the other part of the block, so they each hire different DJs. They line up, blow each other out. One or the other pulls it. That's why in Jam on It, just when he had pulled the crowd and swore he won the fight. Pull the crowd is when you set up. They got a crowd. You set up. You drop your shit, and the crowd comes from them to you. You done pulled the crowd. That's what you live for. You live to see them come and run it. And they would run.
Whoa.
They would run, man.
Wow. And yeah, and so I mean, like a lot of controversy starts about like where did the hip hop really start back then? Like, was it the Bronx? Was it Brooklyn? Was it, everybody's used to really argue about that point,
Scratching came from the Bronx. Definitely. I don't know about MC Cadence, but they say, and I believe it came from the Bronx. Now, what Jimmy Spicer, God rest his soul, who passed a little while ago, used to go by the name Moppy Mop. And he is a Brooklyn MC. And he said he was rapping with that cadence before Melly Mel or any of those cats were. But I don't know whether that's true or not. All I know is I'm from Brooklyn, never heard of Moppy Mop.
Right, gotcha.
But I don't think he would lie about it, so there must be some kind of truth to it, but I don't know.
Right.
But I know where I first saw scratching was in the Bronx. Where I first heard people on the mic going dang did dang dang ding 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 dang ding dang ding. That's all they did. But I was like, what the fuck is that? But that's what they were doing all night. That was in the Bronx.
Right, right.
All right. Extending breaks, they try and say that Hurt was doing it. But Flowers was doing that shit in the 70s. In as early as 1970, 1969. He was extending breaks. I've had more than one person. Now, mind you, I wasn't witness to either of them doing it, but I've heard more than enough witnesses saying that this was done in Brooklyn earlier than that. However, the kind of breaks that most people associate with hip hop, I would say they roughly, because they love the drums in the Bronx, came from the Bronx. However, we were extending breaks and we were playing breaks. And classic breaks such as Just Begun, you know, Jimmy Castor Bunch, such as Babe Ruth, the Mexican.
Yeah, the Mexican. Oh yeah, those are classic.
Yeah, those are Brooklyn breaks.
Yeah,
and they were playing those before I started DJing. So
yeah, Cool Hurt.
So I can't speak, you know, as an authority except on things that I saw.
Right.
But this is my opinion where these things came from.
Well, it seemed like the electro sound really took off around 1980 on through, you know, like there was different, I wouldn't say electro rap songs, but there was definitely like the Peach Boys and, you know, just like kind of like disco records that weren't really disco. They were kind of going into something else. And then it seemed like certain clubs were starting to play these type of records. And then all of a sudden, you know, we get Planet Rock looking for the perfect beat, Newcleus stuff. So many people gravitated towards that sound around the same time. And I'm wondering, did you hear the Soul Sonic Force before you created Computer World?
Age.
Computer Age, yeah.
Computer Age was already, I like to say done, but it was already in existence. But I believe
by the time
it was probably done.
What inspired that? What inspired that type of sound?
Jean-Michel Jarre, Giorgio Moroder, and Kraftwerk.
Gotcha.
Definitely. Especially the Computer World album Kraftwerk. I was very heavily influenced because I thought Kraftwerk was boring before then. I loved their sounds, but their music was boring as hell.
Yeah, it is boring. Yeah.
Yeah, but Computer World, that Numbers, man,
it's got a little funky.
Yeah, that changed shit up tremendously. I love Jean-Michel Jarre, and Giorgio Moroder was, you know, people overlook him. You know, but he was using those sounds in disco records with funky disco beats for years. From Here to Eternity, that album came out in 1976.
Wow.
So he was doing that shit before Kraftwerk was doing it.
Exactly.
You know?
It was all heading that way. I mean, it's like you could almost tell it, you know, even with the culture, with the Star Wars culture and the whole movie craze was going on for science fiction at that point in time. And so everyone was doing the robot and doing all these, you know, breakdancing and stuff. Like it was just all kind of like moving that direction. Like Arthur Baker was saying that, you know, he heard Numbers and thought, you know, wouldn't it be interesting if we put like these guys, you know, MC Globe and them to that beat and see what they can do with it. But I think you were doing it already. You were doing that already because you had Computer Age was already written, you know.
Well, even before then, we used to do parties, and I would have my 808, my 303, and my what was it, MC 202 or SH 101?
SH 101.
Yeah, and we used to play, and the vocoder. And we used to do parties and play all that shit. I'd play all that shit live. You know, program records that people like. You know, not original shit, but you know, we program records that play and then put the record on and then mix that shit right into the record. Used to rock crowds rock parties like that.
So when did you get your 808 machine? What year was that?
81.
81. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, right when the shit came out, man.
Yeah, 81.
Wow.
And if you don't mind me asking, throughout your music journey, what's one of your most memorable? That just sticks with you. Whether it was a performance you did or somebody you battled and destroyed and just shit on, like.
Well, the Wiki Wiki moment is huge. There's this crew, I forget their regular name, but the guy that owned the equipment's name was Barrington. So we used to just call him Barrington anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a battle against them. They had a kid, a young boy named Keith. And he knew how to scratch. And scratching was new in Brooklyn. But he was good. He was good at it. And we would play breaks, but we would disco blend the breaks for the most part at that point. But we were champions at that shit. And so the breaks, when we started breaks, it sounded seamless. But anyway, we battled against them, blew them out as usual. As we blew them out as regular. They were on the next block. We were on Bainbridge between Howard and Saratoga, and they were on Bainbridge between Saratoga and, wow, I'm getting old. Damn. I guess it's Hopkinson. They changed the name of the street any fucking way. But and there was a park 137 right there on their block, and we used to battle there all the time. Anyway, we blew them out, and they're packing their shit up. We're rocking the crowd. They're packing their shit up because it's useless.
Yeah.
And he came over to me and standing there, and he said to me, "Yeah. You guys are bad, but you can't do this. Wiki, 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 wiki." I almost died laughing. I said, "Man, we just blew your asses out again. We ain't got to wiki, wiki, wiki."
Yeah, we ain't got to do all that.
That stuck with me.
Yeah.
And so when I made up, when I made up Jam On's Revenge, I said, let me throw that whole thing in there. And that changed my life. I'd love to see Keith. I wonder if he remembers. He probably don't remember that shit.
I don't know.
But,
he probably heard that song and was thinking about it. Oh Lord, these people are talking about me right now.
Other moment on the Fresh Fest, we were on stage. We had just finished doing sound check.
And wait, where was this at?
This is in Detroit on the Fresh Fest.
I saw you guys in the Fresh Fest in Richmond, Virginia. Richmond, Virginia.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, with Run DMC, I think was there. And, yeah.
Run DMC, Houdini, Fat Boys.
It was all the
Curtis Blow.
Yep.
We're on stage. Run DMC just finished their sound check. I'm still going over stuff. And they decided to open the doors. This is Detroit. First time in Detroit. Yeah. I'm standing on stage. They opened up the doors. The people came in, and this is an old venue. Climbed up on top of the seats and were running down the seats on the tops. Not through the aisles, on the tops of the seats, running down on the tops.
Whoa.
I said, holy shit. And I'm trying to remember what was Jay or Run. Turn around and say, yeah, man, welcome to Detroit. Holy shit. Let me tell you something. That night, we had changed our show up. Changed our whole show up. The whole configuration. Because I said, it was tired to me. So I changed it up so that we would come out You know, with Computer Age would be the first song, because Computer Age was starting to hit at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And we would come out and we do the Devo shit. You know, you ever see Devo?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
We came out like that, and the crowd lost its mind, because we the opening act
Yeah.
of the whole shit.
Mm-hmm.
We came out like that, and mind you, we were a live band. We didn't know no turntables or nothing like that. We live playing. Went out there, we killed that shit. After we killed that, every other crew killed that night. That shit sticks in my mind. That was one hell of a night, boy.
Y'all were a great band, man. That fucking drummer, the electronic drummer, man, that Joker used to get down, boy.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to love
he had to
watching
pretend it was a drum machine, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I still had the drum machine program for them to play against, but it just played the percussion and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He played the beats.
That shit was tight, man. And then they had the young guys come out and were doing the popping and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another thing to remember also about electronic music, why electro happened, that you have to remember, was the equipment that was available at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I couldn't afford anything but an 808. If I could afford it, I would have bought a Lindrum or a DMX, which used sample drums.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I needed an electronic sound, because
dude,
that's
that
all I could afford.
That 808 fit y'all like a glove, though, bro.
Yeah,
That's like that shit had that.
It was all built around the 808, so the music fit the 808, not the other way around. You know,
exactly.
Our whole thing could have been completely different if we had another drum machine.
And you know, I like the way you guys mixed your records too, because around that time, like Tommy Boy Records, except for Planet Rock, they didn't have that same beefy kick drum. Like with you guys, you kind of let that sustain out just a little bit on the 808. I know that you had to, you know, save grooves on the record, so you couldn't really bass them out like you probably wanted to, but you still had that thumping 808, that boom, 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 like on that Wiki song, man. That shit was like booming. Even today, I'll play it in my car, and that shit's like boom. Nice. You know, it's fat, you know, real fat. Like the Tommy Boy records, though, the kicks are real. I don't know. It's just missing something. I think
somebody like the, you know, because there's a decay on there.
Mm-hmm, they just tighten it up.
I like the short kick.
That little kick.
I like longer kicks. I'm not one that loves the booming 808s,
mm-hmm.
but I like my
thud.
Yeah, on them. That's right.
Mm-hmm. It's got to hit you right in the right place when you're on the dance floor, you know, and in the club.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. Well, look, I want to respect your time, man. It's been an hour. I really enjoyed having you on here, man. It's like I tell everybody, it's like having my old heroes when I was a kid to finally talk to you guys, man. I had your posters and the album work. I love the album work on that first record too.
Yeah, I do too. Bob Camp, man.
Yeah, he did the Renegades of Funk album cover, which is another one of my favorite ones. I used to have that shit on my wall too, man. Yeah, really nice talking to you, man.
Here,
really
man.
appreciate it.
Y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dope. Super dope. I appreciate your time, man.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's tight.
If you like the content, guys, like and subscribe. Next week we're gonna have another wonderful guest as usual. And until then, man, peace out, guys.
Easy out.